Hello everyone. My name is Daichi, and I will give you a lecture regarding the radiation and remediation activities. So, let's start today's lecture. Today's theme is Impact on Human Health Caused by Exposure to Radiation, Volume 4. Are you ready? Okay, so far, regarding impact on human health caused by exposure to radiation, general outline of the deterministic effects and the stochastic effects are briefly explained. And in addition, regarding the deterministic effects, difference of threshold values of organs and tissue has been covered, and regarding the stochastic effects, relationship between dose and risk for cancer has been mainly covered.
Yes, that's right. And this time, we go into more detail about the relationship between dose and the risk for cancer, to interpret the meaning of the risk better. Well, and I guess that this time the hereditary effects will be also explained, right?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. So let us begin with the detail of the relationship between dose and risk for cancer, relevant to the stochastic effects. In order to understand better the magnitude of the 100 millisievert, let's look at the details of dose, which people are exposed to, such as through medical exposure or in our daily life. Examples of artificial and natural radiation will be elaborated individually. First of all, dose derived from dental radiography is around 0.01 millisievert at maximum, that is, around 10 microsievert. And dose derived from chest radiography is around 0.06 millisievert, that is, around 60 microsievert. When taking an airplane, people are exposed to radiation additionally, compared with life on the ground, because they are influenced by cosmic ray. Specifically, if people make a round trip between Tokyo and New York, they are exposed to radiation with dose of around 0.2 millisievert. In addition, dose limit for the public, under the planned exposure situation, is 1 millisievert per year of effective dose, as recommended by the ICRP. Please visit the relevant video for the detail of dose limit. This is also elaborated in another lecture, but annual average dose to Japanese people, derived from natural radiation, including cosmic ray, or daily food stuff, is currently estimated as around 2.1 millisievert. People are usually exposed to dose of around 5 to 30 millisievert, derived from a computer tomography examination using X-ray. In addition, there are regions with high radiation level in the world, compared with other regions, due to natural radioactive materials on Earth, such as radium or uranium. The Kerala region in India is one of the representative examples, and it is reported that annual average dose to people is around from a couple of millisievert up to a couple of tens of millisievert in places with high background level. However, even in the Kerala region, increase of relative risk for cancer has not been observed. Moreover, this is also elaborated in another lecture, but the ICRP recommends that occupational dose limit to workers, under the planned exposure situation, needs to be 100 millisievert or less per every 5 years, and also needs to be 50 millisievert or less, of the effective dose, in every single year. Moreover, people are exposed to radiation, with dose of a couple of gray on their skin, when taking a treatment by cardiac catheter, using X-ray to see through their body. And lastly, during cancer treatment, sometimes people are exposed to radiation with dose of more than 10 gray, although it is concentrated on the part of the body. However, when people are exposed to radiation with dose of more than 1 gray unintentionally, in other words, not under the planned exposure situation, for example, other than treatment of cancer, the deterministic effects could appear, as covered in the previous lectures.
Taking account of your explanation, I suppose that it is quite unlikely that people are exposed to radiation with dose of 100 millisievert, especially exposed at one time, except for very unexpected situation. But, would it be possible that the relevant risk could increase with dose of a couple of millisievert, which we could be exposed to in our daily life?
as covered in the previous lecture, regarding the exposure to radiation, with dose less than 100 mSv, it is very difficult to identify how much the exposure to radiation attributes to the development of the cancer, because it gets buried in other factors. But countermeasures are set up, under the assumption that there is a linear relationship between dose and increase of relevant risk. Regarding this point, let's look at the following data. This is data of American people, but a result of analysis for factors to cause the development of cancer. According to this pie graph, attribution of radiation and ultraviolet ray occupies only around 2%, but on the other hand, for example, smoking, diet and obesity in adulthood, and lack of exercise, occupy around 30%, 30%, and 5%, respectively. In other words, it means that in our daily life, in terms of prevention of cancer development, quitting smoking or diet management are more effective, compared with putting more effort on avoiding exposure to radiation.
Let me see. It means that there are a lot of other factors, like smoking and daily diet, which cause cancer, other than radiation, right? It does make sense to me, because it is quite well known that too much smoking might cause cancer, although I didn't know that it influences much more than radiation.
At last, let me talk about the rest of effect, that is, relationship between dose and hereditary effect. Mechanism to cause hereditary effect due to exposure to radiation could be, for examples, induced change of genetic information, which DNA originally possessed. And morphological defect of chromosome could also appear, which could lead to some negative impact on offspring of exposed people. The ICRP estimates that risk for hereditary effect would increase by 0.2%, with dose of 1 gray. On the other hand, as previously explained, it is estimated that risk for death from cancer would increase by 0.5%, with dose of 100 mSv. Therefore, under the assumption of exposure of gamma ray to whole body, it can be calculated in a proportional manner, and it means that the risk would increase by 5% with dose of 1 gray. So, it can be said that risk for hereditary effect caused by exposure to radiation is quite less, compared with risk for death from cancer. As a matter of fact, epidemiological surveys for children of atomic bomb survivors in Hiroshima and Nagasaki have been implemented, for including congenital disorders, genetic mutation, chromosome aberration, cancer, and mortality rates from cancer and other kinds of disorders. However, even if compared with children of non-atomic bomb survivors, no significant difference has been observed between two groups of people. Through these kinds of surveys, it has gradually become apparent that hereditary effects could not be as high as originally considered.
I see. I have understood that risk of negative impact on next generation would be much less than that of development of cancer, or death from cancer. So, by now we have come to the end of a series of lectures on impact on human health, caused by exposure to radiation, right? There are a lot of points which I can't fully understand so far, but I would like to catch up them gradually.
Correct. Please learn them in a step-by-step manner. As previously mentioned, magnitude of impact on human health caused by exposure to radiation will be different and depends on not only the amount of dose, but also on the parts of body to be exposed, kinds of radiation, age, as well as on the fact whether people are exposed to a certain amount of radiation at once, or exposed it in a couple of times additions. However, although detailed calculation is useful, but it is also important to first get to know rough magnitude or dose, an impact caused by exposure to radiation, in order not to be bothered from incorrect information, or misconception on impact on human health, which is sometimes disseminated in the world. And optimized measures, which are neither too much nor too less, based on the correct understanding, need to be adopted. So, let me wrap up my lecture by providing you the key points. Today, as a continuous work from the previous lecture, specific examples are taken with regard to kinds of exposure in our daily life, as well as their impact on human health, in order to well understand the scale of the impact, how much the doses of 1 millisievert and 100 millisievert would be, and proportion of factors in our daily life, which could attribute to development of cancer are presented. And I explained that especially in normal situation, it is difficult to identify the attribution of radiation to development of cancer, because it gets buried in other factors, like smoking. And of the stochastic effects, with regard to the hereditary effect, the ICRP estimates 0.2% increase of risk per dose of 1 gray. This is much less than increase of mortality risk from cancer caused by radiation, and actually, according to the epidemiological surveys for children of atomic bomb survivors, so far no hereditary effect caused by exposure to radiation has been observed. And at last, when considering the health effects on people caused by exposure to radiation, the importance was underlined, first to get to know the scale, or magnitude of impact, estimated from dose or other factors, and to take optimized measures, which are neither too much nor too less. Okay, today's lecture is now dismissed. See you next time. In this channel, useful information regarding the radiation and remediation will be provided to you. If you like it, please subscribe to this channel, and do not forget to click the like button.